Hello everyone. I really wanted to do another video where we're looking at the Inkvent inks of day 7 till day 12 and with the pens that I had chosen for each ink. So let's jump right in. So day 7 was Sweet Dreams. And if you remember, Sweet Dreams is this pink and it has a scent. It's kind of like a very sweet kind of scent. And I wasn't really the biggest fan of it, but yeah, the scent was really not my big thing. You can see there's also not like too much shading happening. And then the one thing that if we're looking here on the Tomoe River paper with my dip pen, it actually feathered like crazy, which has never happened before. I hadn't ever seen this before. And what I inked it up in is this little Pilot Kakuno in this white-blue color. And it has a medium nib. And actually what was really surprising when I was journaling with it in my journal, which is a Stalogy paper, it actually behaved really well. So in this pen, I mean, it flows like crazy. It works really well with this pen. Like it really flows really well. It feels like this little Kakuno, like that nib is so smooth. It's so surprisingly smooth. I'm really like, for like a cheap pen, I really like this cheap pen. So let me see, how did I actually do this here? For this was the day 1 till 6. Oh, I see. It's all good. So let's do a little squiggle here. And I actually feel on this paper, I don't know if it's just because it has been sitting for a little bit in this pen, but look at this. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see, but it's really not as bright pink as it is on this swatch. So let me see if I can show that to you here. So it's a little bit less bright. I mean, this is a Hobonichi notebook. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's just because it has been settled. It has settled a little bit in my pen, but it does seem like a little less bright. And from this distance, it's also a little not very offensive in its scent. So in this pen, on the Stalogy paper, and even on here, it's actually working quite well. As much as I really didn't like the scent and as much as I was kind of confused about the feathering at first. Okay, then we have day 8. That's what I was trying to do before. And so this is, let me see if we can get this all together. So this is, you can already see here, not working really well in this pen. So this was Inkvent day 8. And this is Diamine Jacaranda, and I learned by now it is a purple flower. It's a very gorgeous purple flower, and I actually quite like the color. It has some really nice sort of like undertones. But in this Lamy Studio, so this is a Lamy Studio in matte blue with a medium nib, and it's just not making me happy. It's just, I don't think the ink is dry, but I'm always struggling with this pen. Like, it's just, it's a stylish pen. It sits kind of nicely in my hand, but every time I ink it up, I'm just not very impressed with it. It's just, it's not making me happy. I love my Lamy 2000, but this Lamy Studio, I really wanted to love it. And even with this ink, it's just not making me happy. So let's look at the ink again. So here we have it. It has a gorgeous shading. I actually quite like I mean, it's not my favorite color, but I quite like it. And I'm really thinking another pen, this would work quite well. If we're looking at it here, you can see it in here. Nice flowing, nice behaved. And if we're looking at our ink splatter here, where do we have it? Right here. You can really see some of those interesting kind of like undertones. So this is definitely a little bit more of a complex ink, which I quite like. You can even see it here. Let me see. A little bit. You can kind of see here that there's some pinker undertones. I'm not sure if you can see that. But for me, just in this pen, like even when I was journaling in the Stalogy paper, it just felt really dry. And I'm not sure it's the ink. It's just, it did not make me very happy. I think I'm on track. I hope I had this organized the right way, but I'm fairly certain I have. Let me actually see here. So let's go maybe this way. That would actually make things much easier. And everything here is a little upside down. It's all good. So yeah, that's right. Then we have day 9, which was our moonbeam. And I really like this one. I still like this one. I liked it when I was journaling. It's sort of like a green, dark gray, black with some really nice green shimmer. It's one of their chameleon inks. So I quite like this one. So this is day 9 moonbeam. And I had inked this up in my Kaweco Student, and I had to look it up because every time I forget. It's the 70s Soul color. And this pen has really been growing on me. It has been probably growing on me since I put a broad nib in here. It has a cartridge converter. And I love the color. It's really kind of my style. I really like the color of this, and it has been flowing and behaving really well. Even though it's a small nib, you can see it's a small nib. And I generally prefer bigger nibs, but this little pen often kind of makes me quite happy. So this was, and let's see, let's shake it maybe a little bit to see if we still have some shimmer in here. This is, we'll see how this goes after I haven't used it since the day it came out and I journaled with it. So let's see, and it flows really well. So did I say this is a broad nib? Day 9, it is Diamine Moonbeam. It does look a little bit different on this paper, but I do like it. And this is, what did I say? This is the Kaweco Student. Yes. 70s, I don't know why I can't keep this in mind. 70s Soul, and this has a broad nib. And when I was journaling with it on the Stalogy paper, I really didn't have any issues with flow. It didn't clog. It worked really well. Yeah, so this is day 8 Moonbeam, and you can see here, you can really see some of those shimmers. It looks quite nice. And then if we're looking at the ink splatter here, oh, I didn't actually write the name on it. I could do this right now if I already have it. So this is, what did we say? Before I forget, Diamine Moonbeam. And this is, yeah, this one I like. This one I like in this pen. This one works really well. I love it. It's really quite fun, and you can see some of those really. And if you, I don't know, it's kind of almost like a pink. It's always so hard to get the other direction where you can see with those dual shimmers. It's hard to see the color, but that's Moonbeam. Very much a favorite of mine. Then we have day 10. Oh, let me see. I can actually show that to you here as well. It does look, this on this paper, everything looks a little bit different, but I like it. My brain is like, which direction is the camera? There we go. Okay. All right. So actually I might turn this brightness down just a little bit. Let's see if I can do this without going. There we go. That might be better. Okay. I really need to get one of those white reference cards. Anyways, not the problem to solve right now. Okay. Then day 10 was Velvet Emerald, which was a standard ink. And I actually quite like this one. And I inked this up in my Monte Grappa, and I think I was misidentifying this pen. So this, I had to look it up. It is a Monte Grappa. It is a Elmo Fantasy Bloom. Yes, Elmo Fantasy Bloom. Can we keep this in mind? And it has, and I will show you in a second, this ink is, look at how well this is flowing. This makes me happy. This is so nice, and it's such a saturated ink, and I love my greens, and this is just really making me happy. So this is Inkvent Day 10, and this is Diamine Velvet Emerald, which I really like. This is another one that I just really like. And now, so this is a Monte Grappa, wow, Elmo Fantasy Bloom is the color. And I have shown this before. So this pen, I like my Monte Grappa pens. It is actually heavier than some of the other pens. It has a really nice heft to it, which I really like. I mean, it's not super heavy, but it's definitely heavier than like a Benu, for example. It has a cartridge converter. And if you are paying careful attention, you might see, and if you know your Monte Grappas, that this does not have a nice Monte Grappa nib on it. The Monte Grappa nibs have like all of those intricate little cute details. This is a custom grind that I got from the Toronto Pen Company, and it is a broad nib that is ground to a architect. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's like, you can see maybe the flat there, you can see it. It's the flat sides, and I love my architect nibs. So this is an architect nib, and that's where you can see also like just the way it writes and the way I hold my pens. It's just such a perfect combination. And with this ink, I mean, look at this. It just works perfectly. I am very much in love with this combination. And you can see there's also some really kind of nice shading that is kind of coming out here. So this is really nice. And you can see some of the line variation that comes from the architect nib. It's not dramatic. And I mostly love the feel of writing with the architect nib. So if we're looking at this here, you can see there is a tiny, tiny little bit of red coming through, but some really nice shading. And the ink splatter will tell us the most. You can definitely see here that there are some red edges. There's a little bit of red, almost a little bit of a red sheen. You can see that here, if you're kind of like looking carefully. So this, but it's such a nice saturated ink. It flows so well. So this day 10 had made me happy. Okay, day 11. Day 11 is the one that got everyone talking, in case you haven't seen it yet. This is Glacier. And what they called it is Star, I don't know if you can see that, Star Bright. So it's hard to see, it says Star Bright. And what that means, I figured out eventually, it just has so much shimmer in it. So it has like so much shimmer in it. And I was really blown away. I hadn't seen anything like that if you like on the day off. And what I inked it up, just because I wasn't too sure how well it's gonna work, I inked it up in a Twispy Eco. And you can see all of the shimmer in the barrel. Can you see that? Oh, like, come on, light. Do your thing. It's so bright that it's even gonna shake it a little bit because it's the shimmer is all kind of stuck here. But it's like, I love looking at it. Sometimes it's just lying on my desk here and I'm just playing with it to look at it. When I was journaling with it, however, you can also see like there's so much shimmer everywhere. It didn't work. I don't know if I don't think it clogged, but I really wish there would be a broad nib in here, but it's a medium nib. But actually, if you see now, it is flowing quite nicely. It's not clogging. It's just on the Stalogy paper, it wasn't kind of like as smooth and flowy as I like. But then I also really like very wet inks. So this was day 10. This is Diamine Glacier. which is that Star Bright. Let's make a note here with the extra shimmer. And this is a Twispy Eco Transparent Blue in a medium nib. And I'm running out of space. And I mean, you can see the crazy shimmer here. So this is, just, now we can maybe, now when I wrote with it, you can kind of see. It is just really gorgeous in this pen. It looks really nice. I'm not sure how long, like I was very impressed at first, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get bored of it, writing with it. It's just kind of a bit of a novelty. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm kind of, look at this. I mean, this is crazy. It's almost kind of blinding. And then, yeah, if you're looking in here, so you can definitely see if you write with it, it's a lighter blue and it's like really kind of intense silvery sparkles. So for me, it just could be a little bit more saturated, but, if you have been watching some of my videos, you can tell that I'm definitely kind of obsessed with more saturated inks. Okay. And then we get to day 12, and that's where I want to stop it for today. And that is our Bah Humbug. And this is like a burgundy brown with some shimmer, and I wasn't very impressed at first. And then I wrote with it in my journal, and I started to really kind of love it. So this is a surprise. This is the one where when I first used it, I was not so impressed. But when I started to look at all of this, and I started to use it in my journal, I actually really quite like it. It has quite some shading. It has like pink and coppery sort of shimmer, and it has some green sheen, if you, yeah, there we go, some green sheen if you can see it. So it's a really complex, interesting ink, and it actually quite liked it. And I think part of why I loved it is because it has been working so well in this Bennu. So I think that always helps. So let's shake it a little bit. I mean, it always helps. Of course it helps. If you have like, oh, so now, and now it's not coming out. See, this is like, it has worked so well. And now it does not want to work. I mean, there's a lot of shimmer in it. So let's see why it's not working. I don't know. Let's press a little bit until, I usually press until I see something happening in the nib. This is quite interesting. It worked really, really well. It worked so well when I was writing with it. So now I'm really surprised why this is not working. Oh, there we go. Okay. The shaking of the pen. This is a funny one. This brings me back to my childhood. Whenever our fountain pens weren't working, we were just shaking it. I mean, this is probably not the best strategy, and I always want to be super careful that I'm not hitting the paper, but it works. It does work. 12. Oh, I missed writing that day 11. That's okay. Diamine. So now it flows really well again. So I don't know what that was about. Bah Humbug. And now you can see how juicy and nice it's flowing. So, yeah. So this is a Bennu. Oh, and it's the Cafe Latte, and I didn't look up which model. It was a Goulet pen exclusive. It has a broad nib, and you can see it skips every now and then. Again, this was not my experience I had when I was journaling with it. So that's quite interesting and something to kind of be aware of. So this one has the original Bennu nib on it. I don't see like a ton of shimmer. There is some shimmer in this nib. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I had actually quite liked this one. So we'll see how that continues. So let's just finish this up by showing you the splatter here. And here you can kind of see why I think it's kind of cool. You can see this sort of pink shimmer. And it's like there's so much to this ink. And then when you write with it, it's definitely less intense. It definitely looks kind of like brownish, but I really quite like it. It made me quite happy. You know, this is this way. This way. There we go, brain. It's like upside down. There we go. So yeah, so there you have it. We have our day 7 till 12. And so maybe what we could do is just quickly So you can see there are my pens, and then we can see all of the inks that we had. There we go. Let's see that we can fit them all in. Almost, there we go. So this is your day 7 till 12 from the 2023 Diamine Inkvent calendar. Thank you all for watching and enjoy your weekend.